Hey guys, and welcome back to the randomized K-On! Pokemon Team series. Let's see what our cute little Bucho Ritsu got. Ritsu's first Pokemon will be Azumarill. That's a very good start. Azumarill was already quite a good Pokemon, but it became much improved after gaining the Fairy type. It is quite bulky, and its special attack is usable if not outstanding. For abilities, Huge Power is the one I hear about most, and typically the ability you want on an Azumarill since its physical attack is really bad. For level up moves, it's pretty good in all honesty. Bubble Beam will tide you over until you get Surf, Rollout and Defense Curl is a highly praised combo, Superpower gives you great coverage, and Play Rough is a terrific fairy attack, although it's disappointing it comes so late. For TMs, it has quite a few options. Ice and ground moves to counter grass and electric types, Brick Break if you don't want to wait for Superpower, Scald to replace Bubble Beam. This isn't terrible at all. But the lack of Dazzling Gleam and Moonblast is very disappointing since Azumarill could really benefit from one of them. So a very good start overall. While it isn't a fairy type powerhouse, this is a Pokemon you can definitely get use out of. Ritsu's second Pokemon will be Butterfree. That's a pretty disappointing Pokemon to get. Although given that the Kalos games are generally criticized for being too easy, it might be possible to make Butterfree work on a team. Its stats are pretty middling, at least on the physical side, but speed and special stats are acceptable. For abilities, I basically never hear Tinted Lens mentioned. Anytime someone uses a Butterfree in any kind of challenge run, they always opt for Compound Eyes. For level up moves, it's a substantial improvement over the earliest gens. Psybeam is a decent psychic move, it gets the powders which are far more accurate with Compound Eyes, and it gets great bug moves. Gust isn't a great flying attack, but it'll carry you in the early game. For TMs, it opens up a bit. I think a combo of Silverwind/Bug Buzz, Psychic, Sleep Powder, and Energy Ball would make a pretty effective moveset. So not dreadful, but far from a stellar team member. It'll be most useful early to mid-game, but you'll want to replace it as time goes on. Ritsu's third Pokemon will be Drapion. Well, here's another Pokemon Ritsu would use to scare the life out of Mio. Drapion is a solid Pokemon with a really good type combo. Attack, defense, and speed are really good. It's fast, fairly bulky, and hard-hitting. For abilities, they're all useful. Battle Armor can stop crits from ground moves, being Drapion's only type weakness. Sniper can cause more damage, and Keen Eye will keep sand out of its eyes. For level up moves, it's got fairly wide coverage. If you can manage to get all three Elemental Fangs, that would be great. However, it's not unlikely that'll happen, but you would then also only have one move slot for a stab move, so it's likely you'd really only want one of them. For TMs, it has quite a few options. Combine this with its natural moves, you could go in multiple directions with what you teach it. So a massive jump in quality. I'm not entirely sure if you could solo X and Y with the Drapion, but it could absolutely carry the team by itself. Ritsu's fourth Pokemon will be Mr. Mime, one of the more less liked Pokemon. While I personally don't hate Mr. Mime, I wouldn't exactly argue about its design being extremely off-putting. But it's a very effective team member, especially after gaining the Fairy type. Miserable physical stats, but terrific special attack, defense, and speed. For abilities, again, they're all useful. Hard to say for sure which is the best. For level up moves, it gets little in terms of actual attacks, but I believe Mr. Mime tends to be used more as a support Pokemon than a full-on attacker, though you can absolutely use it for that. For TMs, it gets a decent variety. Whether you decide to use Mr. Mime for attacking or support, it does have the flexibility to be either. It might be possible to combine both if you're creative. So, while kind of controversial as a Pokemon, it's still a good team member to have, especially from Gen 6 onwards. Ritsu's fifth Pokemon will be Wigglytuff. Okay, first, a repeat form from Ritsu's Gen 3 team. Second, that's not bad. Wigglytuff, like Clefable, wasn't all that relevant until it gained the Fairy typing, although I do believe Clefable is still used a lot more. Third, this is the third fairy type for Ritsu, which gives her team a dangerous poison weakness. Its stats are mostly either really bad or average, with the exception of its ridiculous HP. For abilities, one causes an annoying status, one, at least by my observation, seems more suited to double battles, and the third is at the very least useful information. For level up moves, it gets very little as it's a stone evolution, although if you can get play rough, that's very helpful. But if you want more variety, keep it pre-evolved for a while. For TMs, it's extremely good thanks to its part normal typing, and its attacking stats are still good enough to make use of all of this. So a good penultimate team member. It's pretty strong, quite cute, and would put in a lot of work. And Ritsu's last Pokemon will be Yveltal. I know it's actually pronounced Eviltal, but I'm saying Yveltal because that's how MJTV says it.
Alright, Route 1 has Blissey Trip. Yveltal! Oh, Yveltal again! Stop! Aha! I escaped the Yveltal by starting a cutscene. There are so many Yveltals on this route. What is attacking me? Oh, it's another Yveltal! All these frickin' Yveltals!
What's there to say about this thing? It's a legendary, and this is the third time Ritsu has scored one. It has the typical bonkers legendary stats, with most focus being on mixed attacking. For abilities, it only gets the one, being its signature ability. It seems decent, especially in doubles if your teammate is a dark type, but it's also a bit of a double-edged sword since it can also buff the opponent. For level up moves, it gets a lot of powerful attacks, but a lot of the best ones come at high levels, and Hurricane's not a great starting move unless there's rain on the field. For TMs, it doesn't get a huge amount of variety, but it gets enough to work with. So probably the best ending Ritsu could have gotten. It's hard to say which of the Kalos box art legendaries is the best as they're both extremely powerful, but getting either one is not a bad thing at all. We should probably count our lucky stars that Ritsu didn't get both, since that is too much power to trust her with. And that's it for Ritsu's Gen 6 team. I'd call this an incredibly solid team that could play on both offense and defense. Butterfree is kind of the weak link, but if it can get off a boosted accuracy sleep powder and cause some damage while the opponent's asleep, it'll still contribute. As always, please rate, comment and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on X, consider backing me on Patreon, and remember to stay chilled.